Does anyone else get tremendously unnerved at the way some people smile? I imagine there has to be quite a bit of you, considering the movie Smile exists and managed to take what should be a happy emotion and flip it around to be terrifying, almost as if breaching into the territories of the uncanny valley, where a lingering sense of threat and danger can be felt just at the sight. What's fascinating is the director of Smile actually had his own method of taking the smile and turning it into something sinister. According to him, basically all the other features of the face can't match up with the smile, and the huge indicator is the eyes. Take the final scene in Pearl, for example. Mia Goth may be smiling, but those eyes are telling us something way different. Why are we talking about creepy smiles, you may ask? Well, this analog horror series is all about them, the Smile Tapes. This series has been floating around YouTube for a while now, and it's about time I actually checked it out. As always, be sure to check out and support the original series before jumping on over here for us to tackle these scares. But without further ado, let's see how far we can get before the smile takes over us.
But before I let you get too far, just wanted to say if you're new here and enjoy what you're watching, be sure to hit all those neat buttons down below as it really helps support the channel. And if you want to see more, be sure to follow us on Instagram and Letterboxd. Alright, now you can pass through.
The Smile Tapes, Volume 1. To start off the series, we are shown a PSA to warn us of a new smile drug, and we are advised to stay far away from anyone who appears to be under its influence. In the past few months, there has been a shocking 500 deaths in direct relation to this drug. Its visible effects include mania, uncontrollable laughter, and violent tendencies. To top it all off, that sinister-looking smile. Something about this drug seems to make these people want to attack others in their path. Before learning much more, we are brought to the Smile Investigation Journal. We learn that the drug is made of spores from an unidentified species of fungus, and the risk of accidental intake is very high. So it's like The Last of Us. We are introduced to two patients who were both brought to the emergency room at the same time. They had complaints of severe headaches and facial cramps. Since this seemed to be a precursor to the smile effects, they were brought to the lab for further observation. The first week, the patients were beginning to smile, but were attempting to resist it. They also suffered from meningitis until it subsided within 2 days. At this point, they were still maintaining their sanity. I have a feeling that's going to change rather quickly. On week 2, they were no longer able to resist the smile. Just look at how happy they seem. Plus, those violent tendencies started to show up, along with the manic laughter. Week 4, and the patients' faces were permanently disfigured. It also states that their behavior and motor functions began to decline. I wonder how capable they are of attacking in that case. Once we get to week 5, we're only shown one of the patients, and his face has begun to deteriorate, and the brain is in the late stages of Alzheimer's. Patient 2 isn't here because they didn't last as long. Patient 1 ended up dying a week later. While performing an autopsy, they found the fungus in the brain cells, and while 2 morticians were close by, a gas started to burst out of the patient's mouth. Except it wasn't gas, it was spores of the fungus. Given that it was highly likely they inhaled the spores, they were immediately quarantined. Turns out it's exactly like The Last of Us. Something that makes this and The Last of Us so terrifying is that cordyceps are a real thing, but luckily they only infect ants, spiders, and other insects. Incapable of infecting us humans, but still creepy to think about. After that segment, we're introduced to Sean G, and we begin to read through his logs beginning in December of 1994. I went out for groceries and this strange man threw flour at me on my way home. That is quite strange, but again, if you know anything about The Last of Us, this probably cemented poor Sean's fate. The next day, Sean recounts a vivid dream he had, where he was flying through space and becoming one with the universe, until he saw a man before waking up. Looking at this picture, are you sure it wasn't a nightmare? Sean then reports having the same dream again the next night, followed along with the same man, except this time he was smiling. Jumping ahead in time a bit, and he has been having the same dream for the whole week, to the point where it's starting to worry him. And this is when the virus seems to take effect. He states his face won't stop twitching, and he's been struck with a really terrible migraine, which continues to go on for the next 4 days. On the 18th of December, he now reports that it feels like someone is pulling the sides of his mouth up, the smile forcibly being applied. To make matters even worse for Sean, his dog ends up passing away on the 22nd. The smile virus can infect dogs, can it? That'd be certainly terrifying. Jumping ahead to Christmas Day, and while on the outside Sean has a constant big smile, he's suffering physically and mentally on the inside, and no doctors seem to know what's going on yet. Yet things seem to take an interesting turn the very next day. I am happy. I feel full of energy. I felt the man's aura. He changed me, for the better. And then we're met with this nightmare-fueled bit. From this point forward, his logs become increasingly more unhinged. He told me something, a quest to fulfill, a brand new life, in a better place. Worlds too unbearable for a simple man like me. Too much vice, too much sadness. But I have the power to fix this. Everyone I see shall become happy. I hope I make you. Very interesting that in the messed up brain of Sean's, he views himself as spreading joy and happiness. Before going any further, there appeared to be a brief code flashed on screen for a frame during his logs. Thanks to Google and many hex decoders, we can figure this out.
What's this wee stuff?
And shockingly enough, it translates to smile. After we finish the logs, it sounds as if we're listening in on some New Year's fireworks. But the sounds of fireworks quickly get drowned out by the sounds of police sirens. We're then brought to the police report of the incident. Turns out Sean, who has completely succumbed to the smile virus, went on a murderous rampage with a knife at the New Year's celebration. And after wounding an officer and still showing no signs of surrender, he was shot dead. He managed to kill 16 people and injure 10 others. He must have super strength or something.
You know how long I've been waiting for this? Woo, I'm about to make a name for myself here.
To end off this volume, we are shown a blurred image of Sean's body, with text that just reads, "Do I look beautiful? I'm in a happier place now." He smiles. If I had to guess, the man he was seeing in his dreams is some personification of this virus slowly taking over his mind, telling him to quote-unquote spread happiness, aka kill people, and he will end up in a happier, better place, aka dead. It's odd that instead of going out and trying to spread the virus through spores, he went on a killing spree. Perhaps their goals aren't to keep the virus going, but that's just an after effect to those around. I'm sure after this New Year's incident, a lot of people got exposed to this newfound smiling disease. The Smiling Tapes, Volume 2. Volume 2 begins, and we are taken to November 4th, 1994, a month before our character Sean got infected. We learn that on that date, there were faint signals picked up near Southern California. The first set played came in at 12:35 a.m., and sounds to be someone reading off numbers.
13, 26, 15.
Looks like we got more code to uncover. Okay, I'm gonna be honest here, this decoding stumped me to no end, and I couldn't figure it out. So if there are any decoding geniuses in the comments below, by all means, take a crack at it. They end up receiving these coded messages again at 12:42, 12:45, 12:49, and then getting their last bit at 12:53. After that, it's just radio static. Looks like they weren't able to decipher the code either. We're then brought to our next Smile investigation journal, taking us almost a year past our New Year's incident. At this point, there have been almost 1,500 deaths and over 5,000 people hospitalized. To make matters even worse, the fungus behind this infection is very unstable and is prone to mutation, leading scientists to fear this will result in more variants of this smile virus. And that's the last thing we need. Like we've heard before, once the host of the virus dies, the spores are then released. And if you are unlucky enough to find yourself within the 10-meter range, you're at high risk of being next. We also learn of what is being called spore puffers, and these are the people who are out there intentionally trying to infect other people. This is more than likely the kind of infected Sean had run into. While the exact source of this fungus is unknown, we find out that its first appearance came from the black market as some new drug being sold. The New Year's incident, now labeled the Gomez homicide, is when the public was first made aware of this disease/drug. During a police search of Sean's apartment, they find the journal full of all the logs we read in Volume 1, and they learn of the delusions he has been having leading up to this attack, and confirms that he was a victim of spore puffing. But before we get any further, it seems like our tape gets a good hijacking. Sean did the right thing? Sounds like our mysterious smiling man from his dreams could be a bit more than just a dream. A bunch of rapid randomized text appears on screen too, but this one is actually solvable and translates to "we are a family" when run through a handy cipher decoder. But now it's time for the morgue incident, which has been completely quarantined after a supposed incident that took place last week. I imagine this is what we heard about in Volume 1, where the body shot out spores from its mouth. The two morticians showed minimal symptoms, but luckily after that point, stricter protocols were put in place to ensure extra precaution when handling a smile patient. We're then played a shocking cameo from the man himself, Bill Clinton. He basically goes on to tell the citizens about what's going on, and urges everyone to stay inside so this doesn't turn into a countrywide epidemic, to which we are then shown a very haunting emergency alert system, and we learn that San Diego and Tijuana have been hit the hardest with this virus. Specifically, it sounds like a ton of infected people are going absolutely nuts throughout those areas.
An estimated 8,000 people have been infected and are currently causing havoc in the streets.
Sounds like this has turned into a smile zombie apocalypse. While this is going on, we get a quick flash at the bottom of the words gunfire, evisceration, cannibalism, and sporing. Yeah, that sounds like a zombie apocalypse, alright. Another bit of backwards text begins to type out on screen that just says, "They are stronger than you think. Perhaps our disease has mutated already into something far worse." To finish off this alert system, we learn that the president has now ordered the National Guard to San Diego, hopefully to help. We then get to hear all the chaos that is happening outdoors. It's a little hard to tell what exactly I'm looking at here, but I think it's a window. We are then flashed an image of our likely culprit behind this whole ordeal, with text that just reads, "Isn't this so beautiful? The bloodshed. Their cries fill me with such joy. Now we can be together, in a happier place." I don't know about that one, Chief. Just like we previously were worried about, new variants of this disease have begun to appear. We have variant A, which appears to be your typical smile virus encounter that we've seen before. But then there's variant B, which is a bit more hidden. With these people, there doesn't seem to be any changes at all. Their sanity is still intact, but they still are capable of transmitting the virus. As long as they don't go on a murderous rampage, they may just have to be kept quarantined. Then we have variant C, which may be the worst yet. We don't end up learning much about variant C, but we get a nice little segment that may tell us everything we need to know. We actually got a quick flash of the traits that belong to a variant C, and they seem to be borderline unstoppable. Heightened senses, bloodthirsty, inhuman strength and stamina, and bulletproof exterior. This can't go well at all. While that may seem to be the end of Volume 2, there's a little post-credit scene I almost missed. It appears like our character is being chased by something monstrous, more than likely a variant C, but their location seems very strange. I couldn't tell you where in the world this person may be. So as of this moment, we know that this smile virus has only gotten worse, with way more people infected, and mutations to make the infected way more formidable. At this point, the West Coast has been getting it the worst, where it sounds like a full-blown zombie invasion has taken place. And once those bulletproof infected start coming in, I have no idea how they can be stopped. The Smile Tapes, Volume 3. Our final volume begins, and we are immediately brought to another Smile investigation journal. I'm sure numbers have skyrocketed. We jump ahead to March 31st of 1996, and we're now at 9,786 deaths, and oddly enough, the hospitalization numbers has gone down to around 4,000. Looks like a lot of them passed away in that time. But in a surprising turn of events, the scientists were able to figure out the origin of this fungus, coming from a microbe between the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico. This microbe was found in an insect that was trapped in amber. Can you guess where this is going? The insect is thought to have lived around 60 to 65 million years ago. Don't tell me. DNA tests show the insect came from Earth. However, the microbe suggests otherwise. Descendants of this microbe include the fungus and, in theory, more undiscovered species. Where exactly did this microbe come from? Well, take a look at this.
There are many theories about their extinction. One is that the dinosaur's destiny was written in the sky.
This smile virus fungus came from the meteor that killed the dinosaurs. I'd hate to see a T-Rex with this smile infection. Now the scientists have given this fungus an official name, one that I can't pronounce, and in easier terms, the Jester. Very fitting. We're then introduced to Oliver McCormack, taking place April of '96, and we get to learn about his adventures during this pandemic. From the sounds of it, he has been locked inside his apartment, only being able to hear the consistent fires in the streets, the laughs of the infected, and the screams of the victims. We can then see what looks to be him barricaded in his room. The hunger ends up getting the better of him as his food supply ran out a while ago, so he gets himself ready and heads out on a quieter side of town in search for something to eat. Finding himself in what looks to be an abandoned store, he finally comes across a can of food, but something else is with him. He sprints down the street, but that smile zombie is on his tail, likely a variant C. Perhaps Oliver has found a new way to deal with these guys. It looks like fire is the solution to taking these variants out. We're then met with quite the haunting aftermath. The next segment jumps to us listening in on an audio interview with one of the scientists and that one lady we saw in Volume 2, a variant B. That was the variant that seemed to show little to no effects on her. Turns out her urge to smile has completely faded, but she still has a bit of a cough. According to the scientist, it's possible she may be the key to making a cure to this disease. This depends on if it's her immune system alone that is combating the virus, instead of it being a common variant. As the scientist interviews her, we learn that she recently lost her husband and has been left to take care of her son alone, which obviously has gotten more difficult at the moment. But with a potential cure on the horizon, things are looking a bit more hopeful, but not for long. We listen in on a report where a bunch of smile zombies broke into the facility and killed all the scientists and our poor cure holder, before we're met with this haunting bit.
The personnel and subjects were killed in the bloody raid. Far but one.
Seems like our smiling culprit has no plans on seeing a cure get made, making this whole situation likely a whole lot worse, until they can find a new variant B. But we eventually cut to scenes of the whole city in flames amidst the chaos. Oliver makes his way to the roof of his apartment building and looks across the burning city, until something very interesting to say the least happens. A plethora of glowing orbs take over the sky, and if I had to make any assumption, this city just got completely wiped off the map. To end off this volume, we get to listen in on a new character, Lucas Sutterfield, recalling his time during the outbreak, seemingly one of the citizens in a high outbreak city, but he managed to keep himself safe by keeping in his basement. Turns out more people caught on to the idea that fire takes out the variant Cs, giving the regular folk a new upper hand, and supposedly putting an end to the whole outbreak. In a shocking ending revelation, this audio takes place 20 years after the outbreak got taken care of. Did they just burn all the infected to death? Did those cities just get mega nuked to oblivion? This is technically a season finale, so I imagine plans for more were on the way, but as of this moment, it appears the series is on an indefinite hiatus. Overall, I really ended up enjoying these Smile tapes. It managed to take me back to more of a classic analog style. It basically checked every box. It was especially neat once we got to Volume 3 and we were able to get our ground level look at all the chaos erupting throughout the area. Plus, I was certainly not expecting the reveal that the fungus came from that damn meteor, keeping dinosaurs in our analog horror world once again. I can't recall any analog horrors I've seen that went the route of basically zombies, since that's pretty much what these infected smiling people are. And all the designs of the infected really got under my skin and managed to effectively get me uncomfortable. Especially once we got near the end and we saw the result of that burned up variant C. Samantha! Oh my God! I may not have been able to solve those codes at the beginning of Volume 2, but I was able to get some of them, so that has to count for something. Needless to say, if you haven't already, I can recommend you check out the Smile tapes. It may end in a way that leaves some questions since there were originally plans for a second season, but the first 3 volumes still have tons of scares and intrigue to make it a fun time worth exploring. I hope to see a continuation one day, but if not, that's okay. With that being said, if you made it all the way to the end of this video, I thank you all for watching. Be sure to keep leaving recommendations on what you'd like to see checked out down below, as I'm always taking a peek to get some ideas. But if you'll excuse me, I'm heading towards the black market to get myself this new Smile drug I've been hearing about.